We came so far from dreams. The path is hard for me. They thought we fall, you see. Well, look at us now, look at us now. We make it hot when we on the scene. Yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team. Yeah, you know we gon' eat. We see the crowds when we come around. You know that I roll with some kings. We shit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we. Tell me who better than we. We soaring to places you never could reach. When we walk in that spot, don't hear none of you speak. Shh, do you want peace or the peace? A king about to put you to sleep. Listen, my team is elite. You not even qualified to compete. He starving, he barely can eat. I guess that's why he always itching for beef. So I put him on ice and I told him to chill. Close your mouth if you can't pay for the meal. Making statements that you know you don't mean. Nice guy trying to act like he mean. Keep it a buck, keep it a bean. Attitudes will put you dudes in the beam. Isekai, he don't live in reality. Shake back off, come up fatality. Yeah, how you gon' hate when you mirror us? He think he a star, he ain't serious. X him out, we not on the same frequency. If you broke, you ain't hearing us. Work the screw, anime, that's how I feel, period. We winning, that's making them furious. We make it high when we on the scene. Yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team. Yeah, you know we gon' eat. We see the crowds when we come around. You know that I roll with some kings. We shit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we.
Yo, what it do, guys? It is your boy, Leon Mookie here, back with you with another new part of What If Izuku Was Clive Rossfield's Reincarnation. This is part 6, and yeah, it's been a while since I last uploaded for this part. My bad, guys. Trying to keep this channel relevant in one way or another, and it looks like my Deku content is the one thing that most people only care about. But I still gotta keep it diverse in one way or another. Any rate, let's go with that of a quick recap. In the last part, Izuku and Mizuki began that of the UA entrance exam, with Mizuki basically showing off his good control over his flames and his good sword skills, being taught by that of Izuku, after all, as he helped out several people as well, even helped out that of future Class 1B student Kanako Komori, and also helped out that of, well, Ibara Shirazaki and also Naranjiki Shota as well. Other people from that of Class 1B too. And showing his ability and skills with that of his flames. As for Izuku, he basically blitzes through that of his practice zone with overwhelming force and power, using that both his sword and his power of his icons. And just like in canon, he also takes on that of the Zero Pointer as well, mainly to defend Ochako, gaining her attention too, with him somewhat worried about him not going to be able to make it into that of UA, but those concerns are basically subsided, as he and Mizuki got their letters after a few weeks. As it said that Izuku got second place within the entrance exam. However, he's aware on who got first place. And for some reason, he can't help but feel happy. So, with all that said, let's get into this, shall we, guys? 1 month since Izuku and Mizuki got that of their entrance letters, with that of their homeroom teacher calling Bakugo, Izuku, and Mizuki to that of the teacher's office, wanting to congratulate all three of them for making it into UA, saying, I expect nothing less from you, Bakugo. However, you Midoriya's actually showed great potential as always. I expect nothing less from that of one of you who was trained by that of the number 2 hero of all things. I'm looking forward to seeing how far you both go. Within, Izuku and Mizuki bow their head, within saying, of course, thank you, sensei. Within them both mentally thinking to the side of their teacher saying, yeah, right, like you actually give a damn. As for Bakugo, he couldn't help but fume at the fact that he's not the only one going to UA from this dead-end school. Within, as he was about to basically corner both Izuku and Mizuki. However, the two brothers weren't allowing that, as they both basically send that of a burst of flames towards Bakugo. One being that of harmful flames from that of Izuku, and one being healing flames from that of Mizuki. Basically to make sure that any pain that he feels would be basically reduced after all. Within, seeing this, Bakyo couldn't help but growl, saying, "You damn bastards!" Within, Izuku saying, I don't need to deal with you, Kachan. I have something important to do. Within, Mizuki saying, "Same here." With that, Bakyo couldn't help but basically growl as he wanted to basically attack them both, no matter what. School zone be damned. However, he also realized something. Like, there's no way in hell that if he basically attacks them now, Aldera isn't going to save his ass now. Now, since there's actually since there are two added students instead of just one going to that of this school now, within him couldn't help but growling out of anger and annoyance, saying, "Just you watch, you damn bastards. I'm gonna put both of you in your damn place. Just you wait. Nothing, and I mean nobody, is going to stop me until I reach number 1. That's exactly what is meant always for me and me alone." If Bakugo reassuring himself and pumping himself up. However, doing so also leads him to that of another on a naive and simple-minded path. With Izuku basically separating from Mizuki, saying, "All right, catch you later, bro." Saying, "Wait, where are you going?" But then Izuku saying, "I had plans ahead of time." Within saying, "Wait, you had plans ahead of time? Why would you?" Within, Mizuki couldn't help but blink multiple times before looking at his twin brother with that of a somewhat mischievous and also all-knowing look. Within, knowing that look all too well, saying, "Will you stop giving me that look if I tell you?" Saying, "Who knows? Maybe." Still having a smug-ass smile. Within, Izuku couldn't help but sigh with that blushing, saying, "I'm going to meet that of Miss Fuyumi." Then saying, "Figures." Saying, "Shut up. I know you plan on spending time with that of Unagi, of all people." With Mizuki basically laughing before hearing that, he stopped laughing before realizing, well, yeah, you got me there a little bit. And besides, she made it into UA too. So, to be honest, within, Izuku couldn't help but smirk, saying, "You're already trying to figure out what places she's staying at, so you can start hanging out with her when she comes here for UA." Within, the tables have now turned on that of the younger Midoriya twin. Within saying, just shut up and go spin with that of your elementary school of a girlfriend of a teacher." Within, here, no longer having the smirk, with the blush coming back with a vengeance, saying, "She's not my girlfriend." Within saying, "Yeah, right. See you back at home, Izu." Within, Mizuki basically leaves his twin, with Izuku a little bit nervous, realizing, is she though? Then, Izuku just shaking his head, saying, "Nah, she wouldn't have any feelings for me like that. I kind of see her like a big sister. Well, used to." Then, shaking his head, saying, "No, none of that. Can't let Mizuki get inside my head like that." But then, Izuku heads off in the downtown area of Masafu. On the train heading to that of Masafu, as the person on that of the train being Fuyumi Todoroki, as she's about to meet up with that of Izuku as well, finishing up her duties as that of a elementary school teacher. And she's currently talking with that of Natsuo, saying, "Yes, Natsuo, I made sure to make you guys dinner ahead of time when making breakfast, so you and Shoto won't be hungry tonight." Within, Natsuo on the other line, while basically leaving that of his college classes, saying, "It's not what I'm worried about, sis. I'm worried about something else, and it involves you." With Fuyumi a little bit shocked, listening to that of her younger brother, saying, "What do you mean?" Within, Natsuo saying, You got to be honest with yourself, to be fair. You like Midoriya, don't you?" Within, she basically blushing as she wanted to basically yell that she doesn't have any feelings for that of Izuku. But then she basically realizes she's in a public area, saying, as she whispers, saying, What makes you think I have feelings for him? I mean, he's like a little brother. He's Shoto's age." And with Natsuo cutting her off, saying, "And he's a good person that actually treats you right." With hearing that, Fuyumi stop her, muttering and basically excuses. But then she's basically just listens to what Natsuo has to say as he continues saying, at first I didn't like him either, like how Shoto did. Just thought of him as nothing but another replacement like the rest of us. But I realized he's a good kid. Unlike Endeavor, he actually treats us like we're actually people. And not only that, he may be wanting to be a hero, but he's not obsessed with it to the point that he's willing to basically throw his family under the bus. Even when he brought his twin brother Mizuki here, the two of them just still hang out and have a good relationship with one another. That's something that us Todorokis lack in, outside just the two of us. Within, Fuyumi couldn't help but clench her hand saying, I'm aware. I've noticed ever since Shoto basically got into UA, he's gotten a lot more, distant and colder, actually. Not to mention, every time when I go and see Mom, alongside you, Natsuo, Shoto doesn't even want to listen to how she's doing anymore. It's like, within, with Natsuo on the other line, leaving that at the building where his college classes were located, saying, like he's a stranger just living in the same house. Within hearing that, Fuyumi basically stayed quiet, seeing it as a form of, acceptance and acknowledgement, saying, I'm aware too. I can't even speak to him without him basically just shoving off. In a way, he's acting almost just like Dad was back in the day. The worst part is, I think it's because of Midoriya. Within, Fuyumi saying, Natsuo! Within saying, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not blaming him entirely. I'm just saying. Shoto feels like he's being replaced, and I can't blame him. He also feels like we replaced him too. Within, hearing this, Fuyumi couldn't help but basically clench her chest hearing that. Within, saying, all the more reason, when he gets into UA, we gotta support him as much as we can. Even if it seems like we're being pushy or forceful, right? As Natsuo says this, trying to hail a cab to come back home. Within, Fuyumi couldn't help but smile, saying, yeah, you're absolutely right, Natsuo. With Natsuo smirking on the line, saying, I know I'm right. Within, saying, catch you later when you come back tonight, sis. Saying, yeah, see you, Natsuo. Take care. Within, hanging up, she couldn't help but think, Shoto, are you really this cold because we feel like we replaced you with Izuku? Within thinking that, she couldn't help but basically shake her head saying, I would never replace you, little brother. You mean a lot to us. And even if you basically push us aside, we'll always be there waiting for you, no matter what. With that, Fuyumi having that of a look of pure resolve on her face now. As then the train conductor explaining on, though arriving at their next stop in that of 5 minutes. Within, Fuyumi couldn't help but smile, saying, but for the meantime, I need to congrats Izuku. A few minutes later, arriving at that of the downtown area of Masafu, as Izuku is waiting for that of Fuyumi, looking through that of his phone, before then, hearing somebody basically run up close to him, as he notices being Fuyumi, saying, sorry I'm late. Were you waiting long? Within, Izuku smiling, saying, no, not at all. Not at all. I actually only waited for 5 minutes or so. You actually are right on time. Within, hearing that, oh, you're just being modest, Izuku. I was kind of rushing to get here, so within, Izuku saying, no, I was really, it's okay. As the two basically are trying to, reassure and apologize to one another over and over. With then, soon everybody else around them couldn't help but say, aw, they make an adorable couple. Within, Izuku and Fuyumi couldn't help but hear that and blush at both of them. And saying, you want to head to the cafe? Saying, yes I do. As the two heading to that of the local cafe that they normally hang out a few times when Fuyumi's in town. As she's basically pretty close to Izuku. They're not holding hands or anything, but still pretty, close to one another. Within, arriving at that of an outdoor cafe with Izuku drinking that of a low espresso iced coffee with Fuyumi drinking that of some tea, actually. Within, she's saying, so, I hear you got that as second place during that of the entrance exam. That's amazing, Izuku. But then Izuku saying, yeah, I guess so. I was actually quite surprised that I got second place. She thinking that he's about to brag, saying, oh, did you think that you were going to get that first place by any chance? But then Izuku couldn't help but basically blush at that, saying, no, not at all. Honestly, part of me thought that, well, Bakugo would have gotten that first place, actually, given how much of a, well, perfectionist he is. But he didn't even get first place. He got third. Within hearing that, she's saying, wait, seriously? Then who got first? But soon, Izuku couldn't help but smile before then saying, Mizuki. Within Fuyumi saying, your brother? Then Izuku nodding, saying, I remember it. As he remembers back then, when they got their letters, Izuku went first and got second place. When Mizuki opened up his letter, though, he got that of first place, mainly through that of rescue points. Izuku and Bakugo had that of a lot of villain points, and Izuku did get a lot of hero points, mainly that of 50, but for Mizuki, he got that of 60, and at that with his already added score, and he was basically 5 points ahead of Izuku. And because of that, he got the highest score. But Izuku couldn't help but look up, saying, I've never been so proud of him more than anything than before. But then hearing this, Fuyumi saying, well, that's what it's like to be that of an older sibling. Being proud of your younger sibling or reaching something or even surpassing you. As she couldn't help but basically smile, saying, to be honest, even though I was never really interested in being a hero, I won't lie, it was always tempting growing up as a kid. But within Izuku basically leaning back while looking at that of Fuyumi with that of a worried and somewhat sympathetic look, saying, because Endeavor wanted the perfect child. He wanted the child with that of a mix of both your mother and his quirk. And thus Shoto was born. And because of that, your family basically was, well, a shell of its former self or even what it could have been. Within hearing that, Fuyumi couldn't help but flinch. Within, Izuku realized what he said, saying, oh, I'm sorry. Within, basically feeling down, just saying, sorry. I should have just kept my mouth shut. Within, Fuyumi saying, no, if anything, you're basically much as part of this family anything. Maybe not by blood, but Dad brought you into this, so it only makes sense that you have the right to know. As Fuyumi takes a sip of that of her tea, within saying, life wasn't that easy after all, even with Shoto being born. My older brother Toya, it feels like the only thing he could think of was just wanting to be a hero, to prove Dad wrong, or to prove that he wasn't a failure, and was always trying to gain his attention by training and getting stronger, even if it cost him hurting his body constantly. His body was made for an ice quirk, not a fire quirk, and yet, even with all of that, he wouldn't stop. He wouldn't give up. He always just wanted to prove wrong that his existence mattered. Within, Izuku couldn't help but say, was there any reason on why he went this far? It couldn't have just to basically achieve his wanting Endeavor's attention, right? But then Fuyumi couldn't help but look down, saying, only one reason. He wanted to be a hero. He wanted to prove that he can. Back then, as a little girl, I didn't get it. All I saw was just my brother hurting himself. And that's it. But instead, now that I became a teacher, I realized everybody growing up as a kid, all they ever wanted was to try and be a hero. All the kids in my class who I teach and look after, all they ever dream of is wanting to be heroes. I'm aware that not everybody's quirk is suited for hero work. After all, I can't help but admire their determination and drive wanting to be one. Even if it's impossible, it's a great dream, and I can get that. But then, Fuyumi just continue looking down as she keeps on speaking, saying, but even impractical quirks would be useful. When a quirk like his basically constantly hurts and burns his body over and over and over again. In a way, all he was doing was basically killing himself. He kept on pushing himself, and I couldn't get that until now. Within, Izuku knowing what she's about to say, as he's basically can understand. Within, saying he wanted to prove that he can become a hero. Within, looking at as Fuyumi looks up, almost looking like tears are about to come down her eyes. As Izuku, basically having that of a thoughtful look, thinking back then about his past, when he was diagnosed quirkless. When you're basically told that it's impossible, constantly over and over again, that you'll never be a hero, either through that of an impractical quirk or no quirk at all. Everybody telling you to just give it up. There's no point. Just do something else. Be more realistic. Like all that. It was like that for me as a kid, after all. With Fuyumi hearing this, as this is the first time this has actually come up between the two. But then he's saying, before I even gained my quirk, before I even met your dad, I was quirkless. I was looked down upon, seen as nothing but trash, not even worth a second glance. If I didn't have mom, dad, and especially Mizuki, I think I would have given in to despair pretty easily. Even if I kept on fighting back, standing up for myself, all the constant abuse, teasing, and basically belittling would consume me. I would basically be a shell of my former self, constantly timid and shy, not even feeling like I'm even be able to stand up for myself. Within hearing that, Fuyumi saying, but you don't know. But even with that, even with all of those insecurities and belittling and being seen as nothing but beneath me, I think I would have still be able to achieve my goal. Still try to reach my dream of wanting to be a hero. Even if I was still quirkless now, I would have not given up. Not at all. I would have stayed chasing after it no matter how many times people told me to just give up on it. And now I think I understand how your brother felt, on why he hated the fact that Endeavor pushed him aside to focus on that of Shoto. But then, looking down, saying it wasn't just that. Back then, Toya tried to attack Shoto. Shoto was just been born and was just unaware of what was happening all the way back then. Because of that, Dad isolated Shoto away from Toya. And in return, he also isolated him from us too. It was supposed to keep Shoto safe away from that of Toya in case he tried to attack him again. But I think all they did was basically drive a more deeper and deeper wedge between us, especially with Toya. But no matter what, no matter how many times Dad basically pushed him aside, he always just kept on going, getting stronger, trying to prove himself that he's capable, like you said. He wouldn't give up. He wanted to prove it that he wasn't a waste, that he could still be a hero. Until that night, Mom and Dad had another fight, and Shoto and Toya was basically already out of the house. Dad never even bothered until we got the call. The place where Dad and Toya always used to train at, called Sakura Peak. Ever heard of it? But then, Izuku thinking, actually, yeah. I remember reading something about it. A huge forest fire basically engulfed an entire section of the mountain. Nobody knows the reason why. But then, putting two and two together, wait, you don't mean... But then, Fuyumi nodding, as the tears begin to come down, saying, Toya wanted Dad to show. He said he had some kind of that he's improved quite a bit with his quirk now, to a new level. And yet, that day, it was the day when he never showed up. The same day when Toya basically burned himself up to the point his quirk ended up engulfing him. And within, she's saying nothing was even left. Sakura was basically burned to ashes. The only thing we had of him was a jawbone. But then, hearing that, Fuyumi Waterworks began to come down, saying, After that, a few years later, that's when Mom poured boiling water on Shoto's face. It's the reason why he has his scar now. And then put into the mental hospital. I try and see her all the time, as much as I can, and she's actually improved quite a bit, but she still feels regretful about what she did, even to this day. Not to mention, Endeavor stopped training, well, Shoto after he refused to use his left side. At first, he basically went a little bit easier on him, I heard, but even so. After that, Natsuo basically despised Dad. He was pretty close with Toya, but after what happened with Mom, he put his foot down and he was done. He no longer saw Endeavor as a father anymore. And the same also went with Shoto, to the very point that he became cold to literally everybody. He isolated himself from us, and I even hear he isolated himself from his fellow classmates. Dad doesn't barely show up to his parent-teacher meetings, so I'm always stepping in his place when I don't have to do my own. And he gets good grades. They always say that he has great potential as a hero, being the son of the number 2 hero after all. But what worries me the most is not all that. It's that he always isolates himself from everybody. Even those who actually want to get to know him, he just won't let anybody close. If Dad's quirk and his personality keeps people at distance because how distant and how angry he is with his flames, Shoto is like an ice wall that just basically will keep everybody away till he freezes himself over. Hearing all that, Izuku couldn't help but have that of a look of pure and utter worry at that of Fuyumi as the tears continue coming down, saying, I feel useless, pathetic, that I can't do anything to keep my family safe or even try and fix what even is left. Am I even stupid for even trying? Within, hearing that, Izuku basically gets up from his chair while going over to Fuyumi and basically wrapping his arms around her, with her completely and utterly in shock, with him saying, you're not useless. If anything, you're more strong-willed than any of them. Caught off guard by those words, Izuku continues saying, a weak person wouldn't basically care, would basically just stay on the sidelines, let things play out as they are, no matter what happens on the outside, or to them as well. But you, Fuyumi, you continue to try. You continue to try and open up to that of your little brother. You continue to support and care for him, look after him. Even if he doesn't appreciate it, you're a surrogate mother for him after you guys losing yours. You tried so hard to keep your family together no matter how much it hurts. Even losing your brother, your mother being sent away, and your brother just continually pushing himself from others. You are the strongest Todoroki ever. And don't let anyone, or even yourself, say otherwise. Within hearing that, Fuyumi couldn't help but still cry, but give off that of a thankful and loving smile to Izuku, within saying thank you, Izuku, as she leans her head onto that of Izuku's left arm, wanting to feel the comfort even more. A few hours later, that's when they leave that at the cafe, with Finn just walking around a little bit, with Izuku also bringing up the fact that even though he's aware of the Todoroki's family's predicament and craziness, and even though he may not respect Endeavor as much as he used to now, knowing the truth of how he treats his family, he still respects him as that of a hero, though. Maybe not as a person or even a father, but his duties as that of a hero, on the other hand, shows it, even proves it even more. It just makes you wonder, why did he believe that if he can't become the number 1 hero, what makes him think his kids can do it too? With Fuyumi kind of looking down, saying, I think he just thought that quirks mattered. Within, Izuku scoffing, saying, it's not the quirk that matters or makes a person strong. It's a person's personality and who they are that makes a hero. The reason on why All Might is number 1 isn't because on how many villains he defeats or how many people he saves. No, He's the number one hero for one reason and one reason only, because he inspires others. Within, Fuyumi looks at Izuku as the two stopped. Within, she let him go, saying, "What do you mean by that?" Within, Izuku continues saying, "He inspires others. He saves people not because he does it out of popularity or out of to prove that he is the best or the strongest. He inspires others because he genuinely just wants to help. Sure, he does gain that of the fame, wealth, and fortune from the things he does, but even so, he cares little about that. No, he's the number one hero because he gives people a sense of security, a sense that everything will be all right, that he'll be there and the day will be saved. That's the kind of hero he is. That smile is the thing that keeps villains at bay and the people at ease. To me and Mizuki, being a hero is basically protecting and saving others with a smile on our face, no matter how hard it is, or no matter how much of a struggle it is too. I could care less on beating the villain. I care more on basically making sure others are protected and safe. I don't even give a damn about that of the limelight. I'm aiming to be a hero for others, not for myself. I want to be like that of All Might, the one that reassures others when they look at me, they feel safe. Within, Fuyumi couldn't help but smile, saying, "I think you're on that path already." Saying, "Doubtful. You know how the people see me, especially when my quirk fully came out, or rather when I first embraced my powers as Mythos and became Ifrit." With Fuyumi flinching, with Izuku saying, "That very first moment, when I unleashed my full capabilities of my quirk, when I became the monster Ifrit," as he flinched after saying that, as he's basically accepted himself that he is Ifrit, and Ifrit is him. In the public's eyes, it is seen as nothing but a villainous quirk. And sure, being trained by Endeavor has basically dulled people's takes on me being a villain in the making, but even so, it still sticks with you. That's even if I basically become a great hero, that one moment of me awakening my quirk, at that one moment of trying to defend my family, is the thing that's going to continue to haunt me, no matter what. With that, Fuyumi basically grabs onto Izuku's arm once again, saying, "Don't think like that, Izuku. Some people may think like that, but you shouldn't. Some people may be afraid of you, but it's those who you actually protect, those who save, and those who actually care about you will be the ones who understand the true you and your actions. No matter what anyone says, and even if the world goes against you." But then, holding Izuku's hands, bringing them close to her, "I'll always support you as well. Not just your family, but me too." As she gives off that of a kind, loving, and caring smile towards Izuku. But then, with that lone words, Izuku having a look of pure and utter shock, and also that of relief, a lone tear comes out of his eye. But then, he can help but give that of a cheerful, loving smile, saying, "Thank you, Fuyumi." The day is coming to an end with Fuyumi saying, "Well, I better get back. Don't want the house to burn down or basically freeze over after all without me." But then, Izuku saying, "Yeah, I guess that makes sense since both Natsuo and your brother Shoto are still there. And they may burn down the house if not knowing how to cook." As then, she's saying, "Possibly. So I'll see you around, and good luck with UA next month." But then saying, "Yeah, I will. Knock 'em dead with your new class next year. Those kids won't know what kind of great teacher that they have." Within hearing that, Fuyumi couldn't help but blush, saying, "Stop, you're embarrassing me." Within saying, "What? I'm just being honest." With that, it soon as the two still basically blushing quite a bit, as they're getting closer and closer and closer. For then, that's when the train saying, "The train will arrive in 5 minutes. I repeat, the train will arrive in 5 minutes. Please stand behind the yellow line." Fire and Ice user couldn't help but basically blush at that, as their face basically goes completely and utterly nuclear red. As that, It basically makes them be quiet for a little bit as the train finally arrives, but then saying, "Have a good night, Fuyumi," saying, "You too, Izuku." As she was about to get on the train, however, she didn't go without placing a kiss on Izuku's cheek before entering the train, leaving Izuku left there completely red as swirls begin to basically swirl around him. At that very moment, that's also when he passes out, as he may be the reincarnation of Clyde, but he's still Izuku Midoriya. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Love to read them. And yeah, this wasn't an action-packed chapter, but it's basically a confirmation chapter of both Izuku and Fuyumi being a couple. As the two basically open up to one another, talking about that of their insecurities, their emotions and pain and regrets, but still have each other by each other's side, then nothing's going to change that no matter what. So yeah, at any rate, also, I decided to make the polls needed for that of, well, the people wanting to be that of the reincarnations of the other dominants from Final Fantasy 16. Mainly 3 candidates. I already have that of, well, the Phoenix and Shiva already taken care of. Even though technically, spoilers alert, Jill never dies in the game, but I decided just to give her a reincarnation anyway. So yeah, at any rate, I've also debated this. Should I give Izuku and Mizuki a court animal that basically is just like that of Torgal? Should I give them or not? You guys decide in that of a poll in the future. So at any rate, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification, keep to date my videos uploaded to the channel. Also, please check out my Discord, my gaming channel, my side channel, my other channel, my Patreon, my Cash App, and my PayPal. All link in the description below. So, with all that said, this is Leon Mookie, signing out. Later guys, hope you all take care. Do your thing, my Shiro.
Hi everyone, this is White Fox. If you liked Leon's video, click the video on the left to see the most recent one. And if you want to see more of this, click the subscribe button and notification bell and check out his playlists. If you still haven't subscribed, do so in the center. With that said, I hope to see you again on my love's channel. Bye!